Well, the Dow Jones is now over $35,000. Now, normally people would be more excited about it, except for I think now more than ever, people have understood that regardless what the Dow Jones says, that does not in any way accurately predict what is happening on Main Street. Right now, it's May 10th, 2021. We are still facing foreclosures. We're still facing a record number of evictions. And there are also some people pointing out that right now there seems to be an influx of foreign money that's gentrifying neighborhoods. Now, I think it's really important to note the fact that if you were to be watching different styles of media or different political persuasions of media, that they'd be saying different things. Biden is president right now. Fox News, conservative talk radio, there's no reason or no way in hell that they are going to give Biden any credit whatsoever for the Dow Jones being at 35,000 points. If Trump was president, yeah, they'd be praising him. They'd be tickling his balls, kissing his ass. Oh, yes, this is incredible. Oh, man, the good time, let the good times roll. The thing about it is, it doesn't matter who's president. The reason why the Dow Jones is so high, which is, I guess, the part that most people don't get or fully understand, the reason why it's so high is, first of all, because you're measuring a handful of companies and their market caps and valuations and whatnot. But if you were to look at the entire history of the Dow Jones, more than 5 years, if you were to look back for the last 30 years, the Dow Jones has steadily been rising to this point right now, and it's going to keep on rising. But the real reason why it's so high is mostly because of the Federal Reserve printing money. Not only is it that they're printing money, but they themselves are causing inflation in not only the stock market, but they are also causing inflation in the cryptocurrency market. They are also causing chip shortages because as more people are able to use this cheap money in order to buy things, the demand has risen so high that electronics are being bought right off the shelf. People are stuck at home. They're bored. I just got off of one forum this morning. They were talking about the fact that there's an AMD chip shortage. There's an NVIDIA GPU shortage. There's an AMD GPU shortage. Intel has a GPU shortage. The bottom line is, as the Federal Reserve continues to print this money, you're seeing a lot of this money being reinvested into the stock market by people who are getting these stimulus checks. You're seeing this money being reinvested into the cryptocurrency market. And what you're also seeing is a run on real estate due to sky high demand. Now, it's easy for them to just say, oh, yes, well, people are sick and tired of the violence in the cities, so they're leaving the cities, they're fleeing the cities. Okay, yes, that very well might be true. But you have to understand, if you're going to keep the interest rates at below 3% for a 30-year fixed mortgage or below 3% for a 15-year or 20-year fixed mortgage, you're causing that sky-high demand. Not only that, but right now, I would say right now is the best time to possibly buy or sell a house, because if you buy a house, then you at least know that you've got a roof over your head that you don't have to worry about until you pay off the mortgage. But if you're selling a house, you know that right now you're also selling at a market high right now. Any piece of property right now is selling really well. I think it's also important to point out the fact that corporations are buying up houses right now. Corporations themselves have so much money, they've amassed so much money that they themselves are buying property. They are buying houses sight unseen without seeing them. They don't care what they look like. They just want the land. If you have a piece of garbage house, they want the land under it, because on that land, they'll tear down the house that's there and they'll just build another house, and they'll build a newer house, or they'll build a better house. If they can buy a building, they're buying buildings. It's crazy what's going on right now, and I blame the Federal Reserve. And it's easy for some people to just want to say, oh, yes, well, this is a Democrat thing or this is a Republican. No, the left and the right wing are both wings on the same bird. As far as I'm concerned, the game that they play in front of us on television, the pretend friends and the pretend enemies, that's irrelevant. The left and the right wing both make that bird fly. So the mere fact that we're just going along. We've stopped, look at all the things that we've just stopped talking about. We stopped talking about the lead pipes. We stopped talking about dirty Flint water. We stopped talking about the possibility that people in New York and New Jersey are exposed to lead. We stopped talking about all of the infrastructure problems that we've been having, and we have our attention everywhere else while all of this is going on. But the bottom line is, the same people who are praising the stimulus checks, the same people who are getting these stimulus checks, the same people who are so happy that they call this economic recovery. Guess what? They've been saying economic recovery since 2008. How much recovery did you get through Obama, Biden, or Trump? They've been saying the same thing since 2008. Guess what? This is not real money. This is printed money. You're seeing pure inflation in the market. I don't care what the federal government's numbers say. I don't care. The federal government's numbers don't reflect the reality. When they're printing this money, what you're seeing is gas prices rising. You're seeing food prices rising. You're seeing housing prices rising. You're seeing electronics prices rising. You're seeing clothing prices rising. You know why? It's because all of those are commodities. And as the federal government prints more money, oh yeah, you can easily send the crypto market and the Dow Jones through the roof. But the bottom line is, on Main Street, you're going to feel it as higher cost of living. In fact, I was having this conversation with my mother yesterday on the way home from dinner, and she was talking about, when your grandparents bought their house, it was only $15,000. And of course, you have to adjust for the consumer price index of the time compared to right now, where we're seeing ridiculous inflation. Back in the 80s, when I was a kid, you could have gotten the house that they purchased. Now, they purchased their house back in like the 50s or the 60s. But the thing about it is, when I was a kid, the interest rates on my bank account was 10%. It was like a solid 10%. You ain't seeing that no more, because the banks aren't paying you to keep money in the bank. That's the reason why so many people put their money in the stock market, put their money in cryptocurrency. They believe that the dollar's collapsing. The dollar's not collapsing. The purchasing power of the dollar is collapsing, but the dollar itself is not collapsing. Until the government says, yes, this is going to be the new currency, there is no official new currency beyond the US dollar. The same goes for India, same goes for China, same goes for Japan. Unless they say their national currency is something else, then whatever you're stuck with is what you're stuck with whatever value and with whatever debt is attached to it. So I think it's important to keep these things in perspective. Now, my bottom line is, well, how do you get wealthy? Because you're going to have to get some level of wealth. You're going to have to try to accumulate wealth while what's going on is going on. And the bottom line is, the only way I really see you doing that is real estate, because real estate, again, is a commodity. It's limited numbers because there's only so much land in America. There's only so many houses they can buy near so many there's only so many houses that they can build near so many cities. So the commodities, all of them, are going up simply because the value of your money is going down. But one thing I can promise you, and I think a lot of people have realized from the crash of Dogecoin, where they thought it was getting to $1 and it hasn't, I think one thing people can start to understand now is that the volatility of cryptocurrency is so high that a week, a month, a year from now, you have no idea where it's going to be. Like a year from today would be, May 10, 2022. You have no idea what the values of these things are going to be. It's all pure speculation that the values of these things are going to be higher. I can promise you America will still be using a US dollar a year from now. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. But bottom line is, it's like your house, your commodities that you have, those are the things that will continue to hold their value, if for nothing more than the supply of them is low. The supply on money, the supply on cryptocurrency, in fact, a lot of them are damn near unlimited. But the supply of those things is in much, much higher supply than these commodities that you see currently hitting sky-high prices. I recommend that long-term storage wealth, you're looking into dividend-paying stocks. That's my go to. That's where I'm putting my wealth until I retire. That's just what I think. And granted, the stock market wavers. Now, I want you to notice a lot of these things are in the red. Tesla, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, they're in the red right now. But the thing about it is Dow Jones is still at a record high. And they include most of these stocks. So, yeah, some things are doing good. Some things may be a little bit lower. But the Dow isn't the only measurement. It's not the only index to measure the stock market. But I think it's important just to remember, back in the old days, we had kings, monarchies. And the thing about it is the kings own the land. They own pretty much everything on it, including the serfs. But even the king realized, you know what? If I don't pay these motherfuckers and if I don't break them off a little bit of this gold, these people are going to run up in this castle and they're going to slaughter me. If you don't believe that could happen, just ask Louis XVI where his head went when them French people revolted against him and they ended up decapitating him. I'll never forget Louis XVI. But the king said, you know what? If I don't break these people off some of this bread, these people going to come up in here and kill my ass. So the king basically printed money. He didn't really print money. He was handing out money. He said, you know what I'll do? I'll give them some money and then I'll get it back in taxes. So I'll send the sheriff out to collect the taxes and I'll get some of that money back. But he understood. He was like, yo, if I store all of this money and I hoard all this money, sooner or later, these people are going to come up in here and get my ass. Louis XVI got his head chopped off. Bottom line is this. This government knows that if they don't keep printing out these damn checks, that there will be war in the street. They already know that people right now have gone out and bought themselves guns, ammo, this, that, and other, and they just waiting for somebody to try to evict them. So the government understands this, like, listen, unless we want to have a block war, like in RoboCop 3, where we're trying to evict these people and they're literally shooting back, I think at this point that the king was right. The king said, you know what, let me print these welfare checks. Let me send out the stimulus money, because if I don't do it, they're going to run up in this Congress building, or they're going to run up in this White House, or they're going to run up in this Supreme Court building. So you know what, let me just print out these damn checks. It'll do, it'll hurt the value of the money, but let me just print out these checks because I don't need these